All right, friends. We're going to come back together, spend a little bit of time doing some voting on anything we want to discuss and anything that is super exciting. This is also, if you have not added your content in, you can get quite to work right now, but we have some good content in here already, which is awesome. This is our handy dandy doc. If you don't already, does anyone not have it open or is stuck or lost and is not able to vote? If so, I'm going to need to do, there's a QR code. Or otherwise, it's in the Slack channel. That's your other option. But the ask is now take a look through here. We have the Secured Finance is bringing a Filecoin-backed DAI-like stablecoin in Q4 of this year, which is super exciting. Ramo has nearline perf storage capacity that feels like using S3, which is live. We have Sriracha's launch of an incentivized and decentralized network of hot storage and retrieval nodes coming early next year. There's also client-side libraries and tooling for web app developers from Sriracha that can be used this quarter and next quarter. So ask, I could spend time walking through these. These are divided, the critical roadmap items are divided into 4 categories, and I've started roughly color coding things by when they're expected to happen. Down at the bottom, you'll see these emojis. You can copy one of these. If there's any we want to discuss and get more information on, you can use a little discuss emoji. If there's things that you agree are like super exciting and awesome, feel free to give it a thumbs up or a heart. And what we're going to do is we're going to be feeding some of these big milestones back into our handy-dandy roadmap visualization so that we can have a community-wide view into the upgrades that are coming in Filecoin land. So that's kind of the ask there. What we're going to then do shortly after we vote on any and make sure we discuss anything up there is talk about where are there gaps in our community roadmap or the things that are covered here that we really need to dedicate more time to, and what are people's kind of ideas of new things that we need to be allocating more resources against as a community. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do some voting, and then we're going to swap down to gaps in community roadmaps. I'm trying to color code the dates by if it's already live, it's green. If it's happening in Q3, Q4, it's actually, if it's happening imminently, like in the next 2 months, it's yellow. If it's like Q3, Q4-ish, so like late Q3 to end of year, it's cyan, and if it's next year, it's orange. Sorry, I think I said orange twice. I meant yellow for this middle one. It's yellow if it's happening imminently, right? Okay. All right, 5 minutes are up. We had 2 things that got little speakers. One, Curio for shipping Super Seal to SPs and getting SPs to run it. Whoever asked a question, do you want to ping Magic? Or Magic, you want to give a quick explanation of what it is?
Yeah, whoever has the question, sure. We're shipping it in a week or 2, so it's gonna be there.
What do SPs need to do in order to take advantage of it?
Buy NVMEs, lots of them.
Buy NVMEs and then what?
Put them in the machines and run the thing.
Okay, and what does that let them?
There's a bunch of complicated, configuration, and also you need to do a big spreadsheet which does the math. So it's not quite that easy, but yeah, we might have docs by the time we ship it, and they might explain it decently well. It's
and you can run Curio to...
Yeah, and you have to run Curio, obviously, because Lotus Miner just will never be able to do it.
If you have an existing SP miner setup, you worry about depreciation and what's going to happen. So, in the typical operation, you have a cycle of replacement. If you're greenfield, or if it's so compelling, you determine, okay, when am I going to do that? But there's some calculations that have to take place at every SP to figure out, okay, when's this going to be usable and valuable to me? It will be, just the question is how soon, once it's released.
So yeah, like we're not gonna do math for SPs. Like it depends on a million of factors, and it's everything from how much do you pay for your hardware, like how good sources do you have, or to like what's your current hardware, how much can you invest, how much do you want to invest, how long do you want to buy the hardware for, and it's like just so many factors. Like even if we wanted to build a calculator, that's hard because we do not know like all the factors that apply to an ESP. So like, we will ship the software. It's much, much more efficient.
Maybe
If you
Magic,
start
bring
from
it to the
scratch,
SP
but-
working group, and then
Yeah.
maybe folks in the SP working group can help make some sort of rough model that SPs can utilize.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, TLDR will ship soon.
In a typical enterprise, you go through the cycle, and usually, like with Windows servers, it'd be like a 3-year cycle. So unless you're greenfield, where it's like, great, buy it now, make money now, or there's demand where I've got to increase my systems now, right? That's fantastic. So we're looking forward to it, but it doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, tomorrow I can now just turn it on.
I mean, some amount of, like, SPs already have some amount of NVMe in their current sealing pipeline. What is Super Seal? Okay. Magic, do you want to give the very quick one-pager? Sorry, making our mic.
So it's basically the like new software implemented by Supranational, and it will enable a few things, but mainly you'll be able to seal roughly 10 times the sectors per the similar cost machine. In the full math is complicated, but it's roughly the TLDR. It might also enable us to do snap deals in 30 seconds or less. Maybe, we'll see.
We voted on kind of the items in the roadmap that we thought were awesome and/or we wanted to discuss, and we were talking about the two ones that got little discussion-y things. One of them was this one.
I saw the Surface Snap on the following line related. I'm not
Sorry.
convinced that's like the most urgent thing. So, because like I was looking on the on-chain matrix, how many people are actually doing Snap? Does Snap make economic sense? It's the most important thing to add to the protocol. It's hard, the Surface Snap, the FIP is already accepted, right? So it's more about implementing the method in the actor code. It's not much. I'm getting supported by Curia and Lotus Miner. But like, is that the most urgent thing that can make a difference, move the needle for SPs right now? Like, I'm not that convinced.
So right now with zero gas fees, it will make absolutely zero difference. Because gas is free, so it doesn't matter. It just increases latency. So honestly, as long as gas is at the floor price, it will not change anything.
But also it's like even worse because like when you add aggregate, now you are trying to wait longer to aggregate instead of just like snap it up, right?
Anyone have anything they want to call out for me to add that they did not add into the roadmap and they're wishing that they did and they don't have a computer in front of them?
I think Johan had mentioned it in opportunities, but he mentioned Web3 there. So the point I was trying to make is end-to-end products which are open source, but not just for Web3, but also for Web2. So for example, if someone's trying to learn how to make like a Dropbox or something, but does not understand what Web3 is, it's still at an interface where it's the same as using AWS S3 or using Filecoin. So catering both to Web2 and the Web3 audience. So that it's
So
not
good Web2 application
Yes.
templates, starter.
Yes, exactly, like a
projects
framework
on
to build on top of.
Filecoin, right?
Yes.
Okay, I've added it to the gaps section. You should check out the demo that Julian was just giving me of this thing that I haven't made an account for yet, but Nextcloud, where you can store all of your data on Filecoin and play back like audio files and photos and whatever. It's like full Dropbox. It has a mobile app.
We have a few us account. You don't even have to make a new account. We can try it
Okay.
out. The reason I want to add one thing in here.
In
The reason why
gaps.
No, I think it's like the
Roadmap items?
highlight. Yeah, I was late because I was talking to ChainSafe friends. Turns out they are very excited to potentially build the like kind because they
Litecoin?
because like ChainSafe, not Forest team is themselves, but the other teams in ChainSafe have been working on like kind protocol for other ecosystem, doing Zcash stuff. And the R&D team in that team are very excited to look into that for Filecoin. They were looking into that like a couple of years ago, doesn't work out, but now it's the time with F3. So we want to have a conversation between F3 team over here with their engineering team to understand what's the like client design and the work needed to be done, and see if there's needs for the Filecoin ecosystem to do that and get the funding for that. They are willing to consider to do that in the Q3, Q4 roadmap, so we can actually not only launching the protocol, but actually have the use case like client ship with that. I think it will be cool. So definitely want to keep it there. The other thing, I think it's interesting, but I don't know how important it is. Eva is here. So Trinsiv is actually working on like chain bridge, like Sigma bridge as well.
Like
so
a trustless bridge?
I'm not too sure if Sigma is like trustless or not yet. However, what I'm trying to say is like they are also willing to explore to potentially deploy the bridge for Filecoin. So do we need more bridge for Filecoin? Whether or like do we need like a trusted bridge? Like how far are is Sigma to become like trustless? Is this something we as a Filecoin ecosystem want to be exploring with that team? Yes, another thing I think we should consider because it's very relevant to our interop.
I think we should be clear about what use case it would unblock or which user sets or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's already Axelar, so how does it differentiate from what they offer?
Yeah, Axelar is like not trustless. So like if that bridge is actually trusted, what does it offer to us and stuff? We can have a conversation.
And what are some of the demand on FVM? Maybe we'll just jump quickly to cross-team dependencies for tracking. There's a little speaky face next to the CID gravity, depends on IP shipyard, shipping Unix FS v1.5 in Kubo. This is what I heard from Julian. Julian, do you want to expand on what Unix FS v1.5 in Kubo is going to give you guys?
Yep. So actually, the idea is to get the metadata, like modification time and so on, directly available in Kubo. So we use Kubo as a backend, and most of the application using backends, they need that data to synchronize and all of that. So metadata, like modification time, is pretty important. The PR is ready since a year and a half or 2 years, but never been.
It must be very stale if it's that old.
So it's basically been written in JS, and the Kubo code just basically doesn't change in the layers that deep. So it's just there ready, and it needs to be merged and tested.
Okay.
So
Do you know when this is going to happen?
So we had that discussion with Adin and the team, supposedly this summer.
Okay, so Q3.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any cross-team dependencies or flags that we should be monitoring?
A general comment is that Fiddle team is very much dependent on the inflow of client data. That's something that we can't influence unless we start doing the heavy lifting biz dev. And without having client data, it's very hard to convince storage providers to act the way that we would like them to act. Because they don't have this data to store.
Okay, and so that's probably like maybe a thing that is a gap that we talked about before, but we need some system and or team and or solution around creating more visibility, ideally on-chain visibility, not just in GitHub repos, around the client data storage tier and the pipeline of customers, which I think I thought I'd put somewhere, but.
So yeah, I guess there is this need for a team with 3 different biz dev, and Fiddle team is dependent on that team that does not exist.
That's doing more biz dev, yes. I think a lot of teams are dependent on that team around getting more. I think Ramo would like to call themselves dependent on that team for getting more client data. I think Kave would be excited about that team. I think a lot of storage providers would be excited about that team, especially with paying clients.
There's one around extensions for just the retrievability flywheel. And so in particular, you've got DDO deals. So you know a sector has been activated. You need to somehow get to a PCID. There's no good mapping from the boost UUID that gets used as sort of that context and linking that back to the actual piece or the data. And so there's some extension and some dependency between Curio, having that on some standard FRC to be able to have a web interface, going through an indexer perhaps, going to Spark to actually be able to potentially track retrievals. And then Phil Plus to incentivize that is probably 4 teams that have a set of linkages.
Okay, so the team that needs to expose this, is that Curio or is that, where does it get exposed? Boost?
Heideckers for me is that there are 2 pieces here: IPNI protocol support and then Curio integration. And Spark Fiddle would be the client. Did I sum that up? Yeah. I think we're not going to solve it here, but I think most of it could be encapsulated into Boost. But what I think we should do is to have a specific specification at the IPNI layer such that it is standardized. Otherwise, IPNI is designed to be extensible such that you could use any context ID, but we want it to be at the spec level so that it's just not specific to Boost. Any Filecoin gateway can use it.
Okay, is this something that's prioritized and happening? Okay, like Q3 or Q3, Q4?
Pending funding discussions, but
It's not only IPNI, it's also like, okay, say IPNI can be doing that, then the SP software will have to, or the deal making protocol software will have to implement that saying. So we should also ask Curio, what's the priority like for you?
I mean, if there's a spec and it's easy to implement, then we can put it somewhere on the roadmap. It's just a matter of where and when, and if we have funding.
So there's like both like cross dependencies here from a funding conversation and a bandwidth conversation. Know that all of these things, when they scale, or it's also the retro PGF side of things. So can make things happen.
the great thing about this problem is that it's driven by a direct entity that's building a product. We're not just building stuff so that it's nice. We're building something that is demanded by Spark, which has a specific product demand. Right? So in that sense, it is very well defined in terms of impact. It's just a matter of getting it done.
Okay, so AI, Patrick to keep, and Julian to keep knocking down people's doors to get product fixed, and maybe flow some Spark rewards to the people who fix said problems.
Not a dependency, but like maybe a gap. In general, I don't know, like Laura maybe is here. Generally, it feels like we don't have a product manager people for Filecoin in general. So like, I feel like Huang it was interesting to see Huang, are leading us talking about like market fit and product. I know it's the same, keep doing, but like we don't have that managers in many of the teams that keeps having these conversations and making sure teams are focused on driving the market fit for Filecoin and allocating their resources towards those things that matters. So like not only lack of like Web3 BD people and product people. Like I don't know which team's problem is that, because it can be certain very good product manager like shared by many of the teams. Because like it's about the product for Filecoin, right? So like can be like leveraged by many teams. So whose problem is that? I don't know.
Many teams' problem. Philoz is hiring one. So if you know of anyone who would do a really good job here, we have an open headcount for said person. So that's something. But other teams can and should also prioritize hiring on that angle.
Personally, I see two gaps here. One is I don't see anything about aggregation, and I'm pretty sure that Sriracha still needs some kind of aggregator system.
Okay.
So we'll talk
Data
about it.
aggregation
Yeah.
as a service?
Yeah, the component we really need is something that multiple parties can all plug into, so they don't have to do it themselves. So ideally, it'd be sort of like an aggregation layer, where the aggregation layer would take data from groups like Sriracha and would give them to whatever SPs are willing to store it. Yeah, awesome. Okay. Okay, we should talk a little more about that then. Okay, then I guess that's not a missing feature. The other thing I'm not seeing up here at all is repair. And I know I keep on bringing this up, but like right now, repair is very reliant on like effectively centralized companies making sure the data continues to exist, which kind of defeats the point in many ways, for me at least, because like if I can't rely on Filecoin to like keep my data alive, like why am I using it?
So like perpetual, like
perpetual or just like 5
bounties?
years. But like I want my data to be around for 5 years. I still can't do that right now. Or like I could hire someone for like a year, but there's a pretty good chance that the data will just like disappear. I don't know what Magic's numbers are, but Magic, what is the average lifetime for a sector or for data on Filecoin? Do you know?
3 years maybe?
No. No, for you
It can
though.
be up to 3, or sorry, it can be up to 5.
But in your experience on ribs, how long does it actually last? Okay. Because we actually do have that data, or he does.
Average deal duration is 360, so a little bit less than a year.
The question is like, how long is it until it actually like it's no longer retrievable or bit rotted or whatever?
I think the number of deal terminations is quite low. Yeah, but it's still quite low. Oh, you mean like expired? Exactly, but I'm saying that the number of that is actually quite low. I don't think so. And so that would actually be a good, useful thing to add here. Maybe. Okay. Others? We're just about out of time, and we're going to pop next door and do the closing. Anyone else have any gaps? I think there was one other, okay, we talked about that. We talked about 1.5. We have lots of visibility needs to get more visibility to then execute. So that's like a top level theme where we're missing visibility to make better decisions and coordinate as a group. We need a chunk of things to be updated post DDO to make sure that we have continued visibility. And we need a lot more on the client onboarding side. Are there any other takeaways of gaps or areas of gaps folks want to surface? We need Philaw's cats. Check. Agreed.
But they must look like corgis.
Philaw's, we need cat corgis. Cat corgis. I think we know the person who makes the corgis, who also made the Philaw's logo. So I feel like this is possible. We'll work on it. All right. Any last things? Okay, otherwise we are going to wrap the road mapping track. Thank you all for bearing with a highly flexible track with lots of different adjustments to timing and schedule and content. Our plan is to take this handy dandy doc that we've just created and update our Q2, Q3, and 2025 roadmap. We'll roughly we'll stick things up there, and then we're going to ask you for the next Endra's gathering to tell us what we did wrong, because seemingly the best way to get answers from people is put out wrong information and then have them tell you that it's wrong. It's a law of the internet. So we're going to merge these things into our upcoming roadmap, and we're super excited to work together. We're going to keep identifying some of these gaps, and there's a couple of different things that I've already stuck into the takeaways, but you have to come to the closing to hear them in terms of next step unconfs that are coming out of this track. So any other, well, I think we have a lot of workshopping as well to do around making sure some of these gaps get clear owners, or teams take on ownership of finding an owner for those areas. But thank you guys all so much for participating and bearing with this very hot room. We appreciate you.